dyed your silk ribbon. I just love the way they look now. They're gorgeous. They've always been gorgeous. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, so again, I'm going to just drop my needle carefully and remove this pin. The needle is now doing the job of the pin. I don't have to worry that it's going to come undone, and I'm just going to, and it just came out from under that needle. Okay. Oh, I'm having one of those days. Let's pull this up. And because these pockets are so small, you know, you might find that what I'm doing you could, you know, easily do and would prefer to do by hand. And there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't or shouldn't do that. I think hand sewing can be very cathartic for so many people. My grandmother had me, both of my grandmothers had me sewing things by hand at a very early age. I probably already said this, my first experience sewing was with a piece of paper, a plastic needle, and some yarn. And I loved every minute of it. I think I was like, I want to say 5. Yeah, I think I was 5 years old. Okay, I'm fiddling and fiddling to get this lined up the way I want it. And I'm just going to set it under my sewing machine needle without a pen. Move that down just a little bit and see if I can capture all of it. I think oh, nope. Huh. Sometimes things work and sometimes things don't work. We all know that. All right, I'm going to do it, do it this way. I'm pinning horizontally instead of vertically to see if I can get it. It would probably work real well if I would just get up and walk over to my ironing board. For whatever reason, this little piece has decided to be the fighter. There is always one. And this one is it, for whatever reason. Here we go. Is that, yeah. Ouch. I'm using my bobbin thread and my needle thread to gently pull. I'm not, you know, yanking on this. I'm just kind of helping my sewing machine presser feet get this to go through, since for whatever reason it's decided to fight. And I don't have to do it all the way down, just enough to get it going. Now, one of the things that you might want to consider while doing this particular project is the use of polyester thread. Cotton thread will leave a lot of lint in your bobbin hook and in and around your sewing machine. I always use cotton thread, and I end up with just huge blobs of lint. If you can clean that out as you go, your machine will love you for it. Be very gentle and careful around that bobbin hook. You don't want to undo that. You might end up having to take it to have, you know, to the service center to be assembled. Look at all that That's just huge wads of lint. That's not from my thread. That is from projects. And I'm basically just pulling that out using the bristles of this paintbrush. It tends to grab onto the thread and the lint, and it pulls it out, and you don't have to do anything special. Okay, and then I've got just this one little small pocket left to attach this to. So for the final little pocket, I'm going to fold and just basically do what we've been doing. And I'm kind of trying to think about the bias binding. What do I want to use? What fabric? I don't want to have too many fabrics going on, but I do like that cottagey look. So I don't know. I'm going to have to come up with a plan. And I folded, well, okay. Put my needle, see, and I just skiffed this pin, so that's why we don't want to sew over a pin. Up and over. And I might not need to pin it. It feels like it's going to behave. We'll see. Kind of down close to the edge. I'm going to use these threads to help guide my machine. Lock those in place and then go forward. Make sure this is lined up evenly, not twisted or too far down. Everything should be even. Slipped off just a little bit and is crooked. So yeah, oh, it's just awful. So I'm going to take this is when you have to do a little bit of reverse stitching and just undo all of what you just stitched and do it again. That's just the reality of sewing. We all have those days where we're going to have something like that happen. And it's so funny because I honestly thought this piece that I'm working on was behaving better than any of the others. And it appears to have slipped off way off on the back. So as far as sewing notions go, I do recommend a really sharp seam ripper. they are invaluable. And you can use them for a variety of reasons. I cut buttonholes open with mine. I also, when I'm putting in a zipper on like a small pocket, I will use the seam ripper to get that zipper opening cut on the fabric. Oops. I know some people have something like this that they like to use. This was a free, I didn't even know that I was getting it. I bought a pair of scissors, which aren't right here, a long time ago, scissor tail. And those, I believe those came with, no, those didn't come with the scissor tail scissors. I take that back. I had a different type of, I had a knife that came with the scissor tail. That did come with something I ordered from Amazon though. But they are awful. They, if you show them something to cut, they just kind of curl up in a little ball and whimper. Sorry about Bama. He's, what's the matter, Pumpkin? Is there somebody outside? I'm sorry. It's okay, they're allowed. Yeah. They parked their car in front of our house, so they need to be able to move their car. I know. I know. Did you want to go outside? You can go in the backyard. Why don't you go outside and see what's out there? Hmm? Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. It's okay. You can go outside. Where's your ball? I'm teaching him sign language, American Sign Language, so he knows a few words in ASL. Where's your brother? Hmm? Why don't you go play? Okay. Yeah. Go outside. You might want to. You know, the sun is shining and we don't get very many days like that. All right. I am almost done. But I will tell you that at some point, when you're doing a project like this with fabric like this, you have to ask yourself what the return is to continue, you know, to try to finesse something. Is it better to just redo, you know, recut? Am I going to gain anything? Am I going to lose anything? If you're working with very expensive fabrics, then by all means, yes, you need to take your time, make it, you know, make it worthwhile. Sometimes it can be really difficult, especially since I wasn't using a very big stitch. This is kind of a small stitch. And I locked my stitches at the beginning and end. So I'm having to undo. There are people out there who will tell you that you cannot possibly ever undo once you've locked your stitches. I beg to differ. I don't like being told I can't do something, and I've done that many times, like right there. Okay, I just undid sewing stitches that had been locked. Okay, now I need to do the other side. I have a lot of threads I need to pull that are just now loose threads because they're right there. But finessing, you know, that's what we do. As fiber artists. Oh, these threads, they're just like super stuck in this fabric. It would be really easy to get frustrated and say, no, I'm not. I'm done. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm going to pull all these out. I used to have a set of forceps. There we go. That I would use for pulling threads. And when my youngest daughter was, gosh, I want to say 3rd or 4th grade, she saw me using them. I was making an heirloom dress for a little girl. Who had never had a dress. And I was determined to get it ready for her for Easter Sunday. And my daughter saw those forceps and decided that that was just the bee's knees. Now, she did grow up to become an LVT, licensed veterinary tech, but she had stuffed animals that had to be, you know, they had to go to the hospital and be surgically operated on, and she had to have those forceps. And I would occasionally find them, and I'd get them back, and put them in my sewing box. And then they would just magically disappear, and then I would find them, and I'd put them, and then they just finally, they were gone. I never did find them. And we've since moved house, so who knows? And she's all grown up and married, so I don't think she's still surgically working on her stuffed animals with my old ancient forceps. I got them because I was a vet tech before you had to become licensed. That will tell you how old I am. And the veterinarian that I worked for in South Carolina allowed me, when she replaced her forceps, she allowed me to take those because she knew I was a seamstress who really wanted them to help me, because see, you could just grab onto these little threads that get left behind when you remove stitching, and that would just work beautifully for pulling out those little threads. But I no longer have them. Okay, so this time I'm going to pin my these threads right in the front are like not coming out. I don't know, I may end up having to replace this piece because I'm not getting, let's see, maybe if I use a pin. I really want to just use this piece without having to replace it. I don't like what my mom used to call a ball up project, where that's where you've got like something like this and you just ball it up and throw it in the bottom of your closet, and because you can't bear to throw it away, and then you come back to it and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was, here we go, I got it. that was a project I was working on and this happened and I got mad. Okay, good. All right. I finally got all those threads out. Perfect. So anyway, this time, instead of vertical pinning, I'm going to do that horizontal pinning like I did the other time. That can be very helpful. All right. I think I'll use 2. All right, I'll take 2. Now sometimes if you have a problem getting right on the edge, like in the case of this little small piece of fabric, start a little ways beyond the edge and stitch forward, which is what I'm going to do. I know that pin is right there, so I'm going to slide the tip toward me just a little bit. I'm going to take a couple of stitches, and then I'm going to back up, and then I'm going to come forward again. Move this pin out of the way, make sure everything is staying where it's supposed to. This did not, so I need to move that over. Okay. I'm going to double check again. I want to keep checking since this is the one that pulled off a couple times. Okay. Now let's just see what we got this time. This time was perfect. Okay. Okay, so our pockets are completed. I'm going to move all of my little pocket pieces over here because I have to mark the caddy front with these stitching lines. Now this is going to stick up beyond, this trim I just put on is going to stick up beyond the pattern piece. So I want to line that up where it's supposed to go and pin it down so it doesn't move. Okay, this has a heat erasable pen, but I don't know if the ink will erase off of felt. So I'm going to do a test real quick and see if that will come off. And I'm doing it on just a little scrappy piece. So here's my little scrappy piece. I'm going to draw. All right. I just scribbled all over it. Now I'm going to go get it with the iron and see if that erases off. And it does. Success. So I can mark with my heat erase pen. I've got pocket line, pocket line, pocket line, pocket line. And what I need to do is use just a card of some kind, or a ruler if you have one. I save these cards for marking all the time. Okay, so there's one line, and that goes all the way up to the end. And what I'm doing is I'm lining it up underneath the pattern piece because I can see through this pattern piece. Oops. Need to get that straight. Okay. Do the same thing over the rest of these. Okay, and then the pocket line right here. Now they look odd, these placement lines, but you'll understand why they look that way when you get this set up. Okay, and then this is where your 2 ribbon pieces go, so you might as well mark, and all you really need is a top and a bottom for each of those. So just get that lined up and do a couple of dots. And you could even do it like this. This is another absolutely acceptable method for marking a pattern. You can line it up like that, and then you've got your top and bottom, and you don't have to draw a solid line, but then you can see where your ribbon is supposed to go, here and here. Okay, alrighty, so we've done what we need to do with this piece, and I'm going to fold it up so that the number is on the outside in case I need to access this pattern piece again. I don't want to have to unfold all of the pattern pieces looking for number 21. All right, so now we will take this piece right here is the center, and it goes right there where those 2 marks are, and we will pin it in place. This one goes from the edge to here, so we will pin it in place. And this pocket has stitch lines. So again, I'm going to hold it in place and just kind of trace down where these stitch lines are. It's just called marking my fabric. So there's that. And then this one also goes from the edge to this line. Pin it in place. And it also has a couple of, that's not straight, a couple of stitch lines that I need to draw on. Like that, okay? And I'll set these over here. Sorry, I'm checking my phone. My sister fell, and I'm trying to make sure that she's okay. And I think we're good, all right? So now we're going to stitch along the outside edge from the top of our pocket to the bottom. So from here to here on this, and then from the top to the bottom, from the top to the bottom, and then just along the edges. And then we're going to do the same stitching arrangement on this final pocket. So now you can elect to eliminate these stitch lines. You can have just one big pocket here if you wish. If you make more than one, you may decide, hey, you know, I kind of like the idea. And you can just kind of customize it, make a bespoke caddy that you like and that you want to use. Personally, I think anything with pockets is fun. I really like a good little fold-up caddy with pockets. They're so useful. You can just make them perfect for your use, for your, you know, what you would need it for. I think they're adorable. I've seen, you know, just the most adorably cute little, like a picnic fold-up caddy, just all kinds of cute little things. I love the use of color too, like red and teal print, you know, just about anything you can think of can just be so cute. It would be great for a baby's room. This one, of course, is specifically designed for a sewing room. Most of my bobbin thread back there. Okay, so I think since I'm starting to have a few mechanical issues, it's time to try to figure out, I know there's got to be a big blob of lint in this sewing machine. So I'm going to drop my feed dogs, remove this, take a look and see, yep, there's some lint. And you see if you can just lift it off. This is a different paintbrush that I use for the top. Sometimes I use it, you know, for different areas, but for the most part, right along in here is where I'll start. Okay. Alrighty, and then you put this back. Trying to keep my thread out of the way. There's more lint. Then to get your feed dogs back up on my machine, you turn the button back and then you step on the foot pedal. Okay, now I've got to remove a massive amount of bird nesty stitching in felt. Oh, so fun. Fortunately for me, that often just pulls right out. It's not well attached. The thread from the needle did not, hook through the thread from the bobbin. So you can usually just pull it right out, which is what I did. I think I'm going to lengthen my stitch just a little bit. This row. Okay. Now because we're stitching on felt, we don't have to worry about these little raw edges that we're going to have. We could